Hello, hello, hello. You guys, about 10 seconds before I went live, and I'm sure it's not on YouTube yet or they haven't cross connected. I found out where, now that I'm back on Restream, where to find my intro video. So let me see if I can find it and play it for you. Yay! We did it. Oh, and guess what? I found my bell neatly hidden on the side of my sewing machine over there. So, thank you, thank you, thank you. Melanie Taylor. Might have to watch the replay. Mona has a premiere at the same time today. That's okay. And I understand, Melanie, because we all try to support each other. And I go live at 4 p.m. Thursdays and 6 p.m. Saturdays for the last 2 years that I've been going live. And, everybody has to try to find some wiggle room in here. The analytic gardener, Deidre, thanks for coming and welcome. Mike. Hello, Michael. Maria Graham, thank you for coming. I think Maria Graham has her nights and days mixed up. My Renaissance grandma, Vanessa, thank you for coming. And welcome, welcome, welcome. Why? Because good friends become family, and family is everything. So I just found out where I knocked my water in case I need it later on. I'd like to thank all of the moderators who have been supporting the channel and making it possible for me to go live and to do all the things that need to be done in a live stream, especially without a co-anchor, or a co-host. And it's fine. I make it do what it do. For those of you in the bushes, I understand it's like 3 hours early. The East Coast people are trying to do their shopping, get ready for the weekend. Those of you, we said the bushes, the moderators, the subscribers, you guys, it doesn't cost anything to subscribe. You just hit the thumbs up and turn the bell on. So why you will know when I go live or post a new video. Maria Graham says she does get confused. I used to get confused when I was in Arizona. And last but not least, I would like to thank the yearly subscribers. It's $1.99 a month. Some of you send in the payment for the whole year. I appreciate that. I do have a Cash App that's listed, Cassandra, South Fulton Garden, or am I saying Cassandra, South Fulton Fuller Garden? Or is it pecans? I heard Led and Mrs. Led talking about, Lady Led talking about pecans, tomato, potato. It's all the same thing. We're all good. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Why is this bell special to me? Because I've had it maybe, I don't know, 20 years or more. This was my lead goat's bell. My little goat, my head goat was a 4-H club goat, and she was used to going to shows or whatever. So she was trained whenever she was on the property on the North Carolina homestead. I would ring the bell and she would come, and the other goats and critters and criminals would follow her. The dogs would come. Most people say, well, the dogs. Yeah, I had Cane Corso Italian Mastiffs. Some dogs, big dogs, mastiffs, guard dogs, can be trained to protect your livestock. Thanks for hitting the thumbs up button, you guys, the like button. And my dogs, I would come home and they would be in the yard. And hold on, something is going on. Cancel. Okay, I almost hit the wrong thing and stopped somebody. Hold on, you guys. Hold on. Okay, because pushing buttons, I don't want to time anybody out or anything. I was trying to move up in the chat, and I'm not trying to do anything. I don't know what's going on, but maybe I'll go out and come back in on my phone and try to figure it out. So we're live. I live stream. Okay. Just un momento, por favor. View channel. A lot of people have been having trouble getting on. And you know what? Now that things have changed, they have I think that the different streaming platforms are overwhelmed. They have us trying to drop a short every day. Some people are going live. I think that they're just having trouble processing all of the information. Well, the good thing now, Mike, they don't have everything so mashed in that I start getting into the music and other things. I just found out today that where some of the things are, like my little commercial, my Be Right Back, they were here from before, but I just couldn't find them. My money dances, because I have 2 money dances. I have to get some money so I can show you. Okay, I have an intro. My outro was in here. So I'm figuring out how to do things, and things change. I'm not buffing, Maria. Everybody says that you're buffering. Buffering. No, we're all good here. Thank goodness. And everybody in blue is a moderator. Joanne Stevens. Hello, hello, hello. She's saying hello, Mike. I had an interesting day today. I was getting everything set up, and usually 2 hours before I go live, I put my phone on silence, silence notifications. I try to take a little nap. I try to set things up, in the area where I'm going to be working or telling you guys about. But before I talk about what the G, the Q, the A, and the T for GQUAT, okay, and if you want to drop your link, let me put that up here. Okay. I might have to change that to capitals. I think some of you can see the G and the Q, UAT, because sometimes people have problems with that, but it's easier to see maybe if it's capital letters, but we'll see. That was last week. So if you are a content creator, and if you're here on the replay, thank you, thank you, thank you. So if you'd like to drop your link so that you can connect with others, just do GQUAT. Now, I'm going to hide that now because one thing I have not figured out, and that's how when I highlight names and I get down and the chat scrolls up, Unbiased tried to tell me, but I couldn't find out where to go where she was talking. And, I am on a computer, a MacBook, but everything is different. I'm in from StreamYards, not on YouTube, on here. So I figure it out inch by inch, step by step. And to be almost 77 years old, I'm happy that I can go live by myself, that I can wake up by myself, get dressed by myself, feed myself, and do the basic things by myself. So if there's ever any problems, just drop a message. You're welcome to leave a message in the chat, and one of the moderators will bring it to my attention or email me or make sure that I find out. If you have any questions, feel welcome to ask me. If I don't see you right away, I will respond and get back to it. So I have so much to tell you. Oh, let me tell you about why I was almost late coming on. So a couple of years ago, I made one of my aunts a quilt. I have two living aunts, and one of them finally opened her quilt. I want to say in the last few days. I think since I've been back in Connecticut, maybe not. And it was a very, very special quilt with all this old vintage fabric, like the quilts that her mother, which was my grandmother, used to make. And we started talking, and she said, Penny, mama and them, they were born in the 1800s. I said, yes, I know, Auntie. Grandpap was born in 1896, and Grandma Della was born in 1898. Now, those are my paternal grandparents. This is a little bit of storytelling and history, because the memories that you connect with in the chat, as well as with family and friends, make you think about things you haven't thought about for years and years and years. So we started talking about quilting. Her mother was a quilter, and they used to quilt by hand. I think at some point Grandma had a treadle sewing machine, but when my aunt was growing up, they used to sew by hand. And we started talking about batting. And I was telling her about some of the G's Ben quilters in Alabama who were also in the South. My aunt and my paternal grandparents grew up in North Carolina. And some of my great grandparents were slaves on my dad's side. And she was telling me my grandpap's mother was a full-blooded Cherokee Indian and or Native American. And I know that that particular aunt, my dad and some of my uncles had very aquiline noses, straight noses, and some had flatter noses. So I found that interesting. And she was saying that, Sissy Joanne Stevens, you didn't know this because this was my first conversation with my aunt about that today. And she was saying that Grandpa was saying that when his mother took her hair out, that was Miss Emma White, Sissy, she could take a lock of her hair out and sit on it. Like you can sit on your hair, Sissy. That must be where you got that from. So he was telling me about that. And the interesting part about quilting, I was asking them when they quilted if they got the cotton, if it was rolled up. She said, yes, it was called batting. I didn't know they called it batting back then, because some of the people who quilted would get cotton from the fields that would still have the seeds in it. But she said even after it was ginned, which means it was taken through the machine and rolled out some kind of way, like you used to buy cotton, Red Cross cotton, it didn't come in the cotton balls already. They came in these big, thick, long strips, and you would roll it up and make your cotton balls to clean your face or whatever. So I find that fascinating. Then we started talking about history and quilting and back in the day. Usually, you guys, I start talking about gardening first. Why? Because all quilters eat and cook, not all from scratch, like my family does, but whether you paint, crochet, knit something. And we started talking about the art of quilting. And she was saying that nowadays people don't know how to do it. And I said, that's why I do it, Auntie, to keep things alive. 755 Media. Thank you for coming. I saw you and the kids jumping off the docks today and loading all the paint on your flat brush when you were down there. But I was trying to get prepared and call. Oh, no, my aunt called me because I had not responded to her about her quilt that she opened. Her birthday was June 6th, and she opened it after that and she put it on her bed. And I said, well, Auntie, every day is not guaranteed. And I would hate to hit the pearly gates and think that you never opened this special quilt that I made for you. And the quilt that I made for her was made out of 9 patches that were each 2.5 inches wide. So when sewn together, all 9 of them only equaled 6.5 inches. You know that a lot of my blocks that I make, those of you who have been following me, are 6.5 inches. So she was telling me that when grandma and them used to lay the cotton out, they would go get sticks from a hickory tree, something. She was telling me so much, I couldn't absorb it all. It wasn't recorded. And we were just talking. And when people are just giving you information, you don't want to make them uncomfortable. Oh, wait, let me get my camera. Oh, wait, let me. And everybody's not comfortable with that. So we were just talking, and she was saying that they would lay the cotton out and they on the floor, and they would get sticks and they would beat the cotton. They would beat the cotton with these sticks until it came flat. Like the batting that we get today. I have a quilt over here that I will be working on today, but I'll show you now. This is cotton batting. It is 80/20, but it has some lint on it. You have to excuse because it's been cut a while. But I'm going to put this black batting under this quilt top. It's an art quilt with African fabric so that it doesn't show through. Hey, Donzel Cooper, thank you for coming and welcome in. So my aunt was telling me about them beating this cotton. Then she would say, now to get it ready so they could actually do the quilting, they would roll it up on sticks. Then they had to sew it to the sticks and then let it out little by little so that they could hand quilt on them. And she said there would be like four kitchen chairs. They didn't have a dining room. They had a big kitchen and a big room. I don't know what it was. I guess a everything kitchen. There were some handmade shelves against the wall that I think my grandmother's brother made, and it had held all of the canning jars. We're going to talk about that because what will you guys eat? What if all the stores close again? How many of you will be able to eat? Put a 1 in the chat because I'm going to keep talking and share this fascinating information about quilts. So I was saying, well, Auntie, back then the quilts were too heavy. There were no washers and dryers. My youngest grandmother was born in 1911. All the others were born in the 1800s. Anthony T. Hop, good evening. You'll be able to eat? I know that's right. I know that's right. Juanita Campbell, I don't know if I said hello to you. Thank you and welcome. You'll be able to eat. Well, I know for you, Juanita Campbell, you can go right around the fields where the farmers are growing stuff around you because when I lived in North Carolina, I didn't live 20 miles, well, maybe I did, maybe not. But I lived very close to you, because the closest Walmart to me was in Henderson, North Carolina, but that was like in a different direction. When I came through your town, I was going to Raleigh. So I went through there, and one of my friends owned the Ace Hardware that's in your town, and another Ace Hardware that was near Lake Gaston. Whole New Perspective says, hello, Auntie. Thanks for coming in. Welcome. I love your quilt, your canning and preserving. So again, what will you eat will you have something to eat if the stores close again, if the whole world closes down? Clovis Gardner, thank you for coming and welcome. I know I will be able to eat and feed others. I have so many dry goods, you guys. I have flour, I have rice, I have a little bit of sugar, not too much, but I have cane sugar and I have molasses. I make my very own brown sugar now. I make my own self-rising flour. If I want to make biscuits, I make them with two ingredients: the whipped cream, I mean, the heavy whipping cream and self-rising flour. Again, and I have different recipes on making my own self-rising flour. So going back to my aunt and this fascinating conversation, because people didn't have washing machines. Oh, I didn't get it down, but I have a small washboard, a washboard where you used to hand stuff. It's just a little token one, like for doll clothes. But Vanessa, my Renaissance grandma, thanks for coming and welcome. So she was telling me the process of washing clothes back then, including the quilts. So for cooking, for rendering lard, if you killed a hog, her parents, she was saying they grew up, she grew up in a big house. It was a big house and a lot of people lived in it. But she said that they had a wash pot. So the wash pot they would heat on fires out in the yard, and they had a well, they used to pump well, and there were some springs on the property, but they would take the clothes and boil them in this wash pot. This wash pot was big, you guys. You could bathe in it, wash clothes, um, cook whole animals in it, render the fat, whatever. So she was telling me about that. I had her dying laughing, Sissy, telling her about the opossum that you pretend that I ate and I didn't. What she was saying, that her mother, which was my grandmother, used to make lye soap. So she said to wash clothes, wash dishes, whatever, it was all bar soap. When I look at some of the other countries, like I have a couple of subscribers that live in Kenya or some parts of Africa, they use bar soap. They use bar soap for dishes, for clothes, for other things. I saw another guy washing clothes sitting outside. He didn't have running water, so but he had water tanks and catch tanks. So Auntie was telling me, and Sissy, you'll probably find this fascinating, that they would boil the clothes, then take them out, and then they'd wash the floor, the kitchen floor, and spread the like the boiled quilt on it or the clothes, and then they would rub this lye soap on it and rub them with their hands. Then they would go back. Her sister, which is my other remaining aunt, was telling me about how many times they actually washed a piece of clothing or whatever. Then they would put it back on the in the fire out front, heat it up again, and then they would lay the quilts over the clothesline and then keep pouring fresh water from the well until the water ran clear. Because I was saying that some people I heard didn't wash the quilts because some people stuffed the quilts with straw or old coats, whatever they had, in order to keep warm. Cassandra, oh, yes, I did say hello. You remember your grandparents making lye soap? I know how to make lye soap. In fact, I'm going to make some soap here soon, and maybe I'll make it with goat's milk. Well, there are different ways, and I also have some shea butter, a 5-pound pack of it. Auntie Joanne has some shea butter, but I normally, just for normal use, I just mix shea butter with extra virgin olive oil, or I use coconut oil, and I just put enough in it so that the shea butter isn't hard here in Connecticut. Where Auntie Joanne lives in Arizona, it it's uh, it's soft. It melts in your hands. Here, I hate to tell you, but I accidentally have my thermostat set on 60. So my apartment right now is only 68 degrees. You did all that too, Maria Graham. This is so fascinating. And so now my aunt lives in Queens, New York, and she was telling me that just the other day somebody that lives in Astoria, Queens, a very densely populated part of New York, and she was saying that the lady washed a quilt because we got into a quilt conversation, and the lady washed a quilt, and Auntie said, well, she must have gone through the laundry room, and she didn't. She said somebody must have schooled her because she didn't put her quilts in the dryer. Technically, you're not supposed to put quilts in the dryer. You're supposed to dry them flat or on a clothesline or something, but the dryer does put wear and tear on your quilts. It's not going to wear them out, but they will last longer. Mike says, "Burr." And so she said this neighbor in New York, went out and put her quilt on the fence to let it air dry. And you also don't worry about the fading. You wash them in cool to lukewarm water, for those of you who don't know. Or if you're lucky enough or blessed to get a hand, when I say by hand, whether it doesn't have to be sewn by hand. When we say handmade, any part of it's handmade. Because I told Auntie, I said, did you notice on the back of your quilt, Auntie, all of those stitches were hand sewn? Like, for example, now she has a queen size quilt. She lives and she sleeps on a full size bed. Nope, I still didn't get this one sewn all the way down. But if you can see the stitching on here, you guys, I put my binding on from the front and I flip it over on the back. And all these, I'll try to pull it a little bit so you can see it. All those are little stitches about a 1/4 inch apart. That's just love. That's just love. Now it's machine quilted, but this is still considered a handmade quilt. And the reason I never get bored when I'm quilting is because there are several stages to quilting. One, getting the fabrics together to make a quilt. Then there's the part where you cut them out. Where you cut them out. I'm jumping around right now in the order of which I intended to show you things. Some of you saw me the next, okay, cutting them out, then piecing them together, then when piecing it, okay, then making the quilt sandwich, then quilting it, then putting the borders and the bindings on. Last week, and we'll reiterate today, how I put the bindings on a quilt. But I want to stop because one of my next pieces, I was commissioned to make 2 mug rugs for one of my friends. And anybody that gets anything from me, I will give you a discounted price. You have to email me. I don't come on here to try to twist your arms into obtaining things from me. I'm here to teach you all these skills while I still have them, because my memory is fading, and it's going to fade even more as I age even more. So these are the squares that I had, like a fat quarter. And for my friend who wanted a mug rug, I cut, they had different portions of it. So I cut the different portions into smaller sizes that I could mix and cut up, instead of using a larger piece. And so these, I cut hers to show you, for example, the different stages. And I never know which one I'm going to do, because I'll plan something and then a conversation or a question will come up, and then I try to tie it in and show you guys the next time I see you or talk to you. So she saw Auntie Joanne's, and I'll show you Auntie Joanne's block in a minute. And this one, so I won't be using these. I will cut these up smaller. And for those of you who are new or in the bushes for the first time, my sister Joanne Stevens in the chat is my biological sister. So this one is made with African fabrics and print. And I don't know if you could see this brown. If you look very, very close, you can see a pattern in the plain brown over here, the way it's shown together. But if you look very closely, you can see a different fabric. But this is the one that my friend really loved, with this little girl holding the chicken and the baobab trees on it. And but she wanted this colorways, and it has denim in the front. So I had planned to show you guys the quilt that I've finished or was working on in Arizona, and I finished putting the borders on. And hey, Miss Shirley OG, Maddie Barnum, welcome back. And thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. That's okay, Miss Shirley. You know we need naps. The only reason I didn't have my nap today is because I was talking to my auntie. So you see this little piece with this little girl with this chicken under her arm. I was actually looking for some fabric that was similar where I could fussy cut a piece off, and I found this. This was actually, I shouldn't say a DUMB. That wasn't nice. I talked to mommy a few minutes ago, Sissy, and she was going to try to watch the live stream. Hello, mother, on her cell phone. And I was like, Mom, I was going to show you how to do it when I was there last Sunday, but I couldn't find the app for YouTube, right? And so she says, oh, it's in the corner. And I'm like, she knows where it is. We don't want her pushing buttons and accidentally going live or anything. So, but this one, I'm like, why is this little girl kissing a giraffe? That's stupid. So I figured I could cut the fabric so that it's just, you see the little girl with, I don't know, maybe a chicken on her head or something. My chickens used to follow me all over the yard when my mother would come to, or I could fussy cut see, this is the planning part. This is the part I love of planning a block or something like this, and cut around and put the other colors that she wanted in here. So those are some of the stages that I go through in planning a quilt. But one of the, let's talk about, because I try to keep a little format when I'm going. So the banners, if you are a content creator and you would like to drop your link so others can connect with you, you put exclamation mark GQUAT, like you squat down on the ground, except you put GQUAT. Okay, so that's how you spell it. And I will take it off so that you can see more, because I have something that I want to show you. Well, let's talk about, no, let me do this. Let's talk about the G. The G stands for gardening, because as I said, all quilters, all Artists 755 Media has a really cute garden, and she's out there taking care of it. Her and Sissy. Okay. Okay, Maria Graham. I'll give you also a discounted price. Anybody who wants to get one, I can get a discounted price. Because I sew two at a time, I gave her a price for two of them for a price. But again, I don't talk about pricing or anything on here, because that's not what I wanted to do. I just want to show you guys the things that you can make. Oh, one last thing before I tell you. So my aunt and I started talking, and I told her about my mother's family Bible, and my mother's an only child. from her parents, right? But her dad had other children, and but they're still my aunts. But my mother was supposed to get the family Bible from her father, and somehow she didn't get it. But my grandfather's twin brother had a lot of children, and they actually had custody of the Bible. And once, when we went to Pennsylvania, my mother's family is from Pennsylvania, and when we went there to look at the Bible, my mother never got it. Hey, Mr. Arthur, you did it right, except just put a exclamation mark before the GQUAT. You probably didn't see it. I don't see it without my glasses either. Oh, and I saw what Miss Fran has said about she got to grow the food in the family because all you grow is weed. No shade, no shade. I watch all you all's videos on TV. Miss Shirley showing off because Gina was at her house and TLC. All the stuff. So going back to the Bible, right? My mother never got her Bible. So I'm telling my aunt on my dad's side about the Bible. And then when my grandmother died, and she came and got my grandfather, her dad, and the Pankey Family Bible. So, Sissy, I found out where the Pankey Family Bible is. Okay, Mr. Arthur, you almost got it. You put pound sign GQUAT. So the pound sign is above the, if you're on a computer, the pound sign is above the 3. The exclamation mark is above the 1 if you're on a computer. So I said, Auntie, I said, I would love to see the family Bible. You guys, I told you it was from the 1800s. So she said, I will let you hold the family Bible. I said, no, Auntie, I don't want to do that. I don't want anything to happen to it. And like the Thomas family Bible, my mother's family Bible, it was very thin, like onion skin paper. And it was a big Bible. My Pankey aunt said that it's a big Bible as well. I'm trying to see because I have all kind of books behind here. Oh, you guys can't see it. All behind here. I'm using this for um just to hang things on. But there are a lot of books in my Bible. I have a Bible, but there's nothing written in it. And there you go, Mr. Arthur. There you go. So she told me she had the Bible, but what I would like to do is at least take some digital photos of the, you don't have to be Christian, but everybody knows that the Bible, the King George, whatever Bible you use, getting so excited. That's what I was trying to do. The Bible had all the begats and Adam and Eve, and Adam begot who, and begot who, and begot who. Well, back in the day, most Black people weren't registered at the courthouse, and the courthouse where my grandparents grew up burned down at some point. So the legal documentation of who begot whom is in the family Bible, and it's all handwritten. I wanted to see what was written in the Bible. So I said I wanted to see the Bible. So I know all 10 of my grandparents' children, their order of birth and their date of birth. But I say, you know what? I'm not getting into the younger people who are still living and who begat who begat what on the side. I'm not doing any of that. So I will fill the family tree with me going backwards, and the rest, the younger ones, can fill theirs in. But I thought that was fascinating about the family Bibles. So the reason I say that, no matter what your, what is it, religious denomination, if you have a Bible or Quran or something, I don't know, maybe your family history is written back there, and maybe that's a way of tracing your family. So, that I found was so interesting. I talked to her like for an hour and a half, 2 hours straight. I don't think we've ever talked that long. And then she gave me a message for my sister Joanne, which I gave to Joanne Stevens. And then just before I went live, Joanne Stevens says, I talked to Aunt Shangy, and Aunt Shangy said, she feels special because she talked to both of us today. And I'm like, the thing about living and elders, I consider myself an elder. I'm almost 77. I'm probably the eldest person in here today. And why I appreciate each and every one of you, why I love sharing with each and every one of you, because everybody doesn't have a 77-year-old to pick their brain and ask them about how they made soap. Some people made soap with the ashes from the fireplace. Some people use, like I said, the lye soap. I know how to make it with lye. I have lye in here. I can make almost anything from anywhere. So, speaking of which, let me hold my tissue. Yeah. So, when you get your go bag together and you don't have a wallet, where are you going to keep your money? Why is this hanging down? My mother's going to tell me I look sloppy. Mother, I fixed myself up, Mom. So, let's go to the gardening and quilting part of GQUAT, because I want to show you something. And I didn't show this in the video, but this is some of the lavender. It's actually just one plant that I grew from seeds. T Hop says midwives used to make a lot of mistakes and spell the last name wrong. Oh, one of my aunts I was telling you about today doesn't have a birth certificate, but it was written in the family Bible, and her name is spelled incorrectly. And I don't think she ever got a legal birth certificate. She doesn't drive, so I don't know how they work that out. I know I'm messing up. I won't be able to get this off. He says midwives used to make a lot of mistakes back then. Yeah, and a lot were wrong, or they put the wrong names, the fathers. That's so interesting, T Hop. Oh, I see. Is that T Hop, the other one instead of T Hop 42? Okay. Lashes Journey, thanks for coming and welcome, welcome, welcome. This is so interesting. Interesting. And speaking of which, with all the times and people dropping things everywhere, and we seem to be in a nuclear state of mind, make sure y'all have a go bag. Have a copy of your driver's license, your personal ID, if you have a passport, if you have a copy of your birth certificate in your phone. You guys, the state of the world, when you leave home, you don't know what might happen. But look at this lavender, and it smells good. So this one I gave to my gardening angel, my helper, but I couldn't find mine in my garden where she put it out there. And I said, well, I would not have given you all of it. I grew this from seed, and I've been trying for 3 years to grow lavender. Lavender and rosemary are two of the hardest things to grow from scratch. So after she brought hers, she says, no, plant it in your yard. Well, she had I don't know, 180-pound black bear in her yard. So she likes planting in my yard and helping me. So this is going outside. Monday, when she comes, she's going to take me to the big box store with the blue on the outside, and we're going to buy some container soil for. Okay, here we go. Let me see. I'm going to stop clicking on things. Okay, Mike, I'm going to stop because I cannot. Happy Sabbath. Thank you. It's not my Sabbath. My Sabbath is on Saturday, but happy Sabbath to those it is. You tried rosemary once, lavender, never tried so many times. Exactly. So then I felt bad. After I give this to the girl, I had 3 seeds, right? And after she brought it back, guess what? But she helps me plant things out there. I saw my lavender and they're in one pot. And then I felt bad. I took the girl's back. I took it, but she's going to leave it here. And she knows that she can cut it whenever she wants to. And then we spent 3 hours out there Friday putting names on things. I'm going to make a grand tour video. Yankee's sister called today, and she's bringing me some stuff that she started, some flowers and some food. I don't have a single tomato out there. Mike is like, no button clicking. Oh, this is interesting. My grandma found out that her name and birthday were wrong on her birth certificate because the midwife filed it almost a month later. Exactly. Oh, she won't come up here live. So I'm going to tell her. Miss Shirley says, Mike, did you try in your hydroponics? I didn't do mine didn't do well in hydroponics. And I can tell you this, that lavender does have to be stratified. You do have to put the lavender seeds, for those of you who are gardening, you have to put them in the freezer for a while. Like the big lavender fields in France, they have like just areas where they grow nothing but lavender. When they grow the 5 spices over there, I forget what it's called. Somebody brought me some back. One of my doctors went there and brought me some back. You've tried lavender and rosemary all the ways. So I grew these. You know what I did, Miss Shirley and Mike? I put the seeds in the freezer for 3 or 4 weeks. When I took them out, I put them in soil, but I put the soil under the hydroponic lights. They like those lights. They like those lights. So I'm going to put this up my streaming thing. He said he tried all the ways. Okay, so I'll be quiet. I mean, I'll stop clicking things and read the comments. So it's interesting when you're watching, looking at your family histories, and you guys write it down like I told my aunt, or take pictures of it. But the only thing is, now we're using cell phones, we're using SD cards, who knows what the next generation of storing stuff. I have one old computer over there with the hard disks in it, because I have old photos from, I want to say 20 years ago. And the photos, I don't know if they're all printed out. I've moved, then they were saving them on Google, they were saving them on Facebook, and now you're limited in the amount of space you can store things. So you can never, my nose is itching. Nobody's coming here. I'm going there. So I'm going to see my mother tomorrow, you guys. Hello, mother. And yeah, so rosemary, it's difficult. The lavender, this is going outside Monday, but we're still with the G. We talked about a little bit about the Q in quilting, but I want to show you something because I don't want to drop it. I just strained it today. I did not use a mesh strainer, but this is apple cider vinegar that I started on 3/22/2025, and I started with I don't bite into apples. I crack my two front teeth, and I've got crowns, so I don't bite into stuff. I use the apple corer, and then the cores, or when I make cakes, and I do that, and I put the cores and soak them. I have a special video if anybody's interested in making apple cider vinegar. And when other people started making, now I've been making apple cider vinegar for about 50 years. USB floppy and CD drives, good to have. Yep. And I kept one, but I am going to put it so that I can use it on my iMac. I don't even use my iMac. I don't even know the last time I turned it on. The old media. Yes, but suppose we get cut off. Suppose we can't stream. Suppose we can't do all the other stuff. So I just put this on to be cute because mommy says when I make jelly, I'm supposed to put fabric on it and make a pretty top. So this isn't a pretty top for the apple cider vinegar, but I did use a coffee filter and write when I started it on it. But I use a little secret starter because some people think that when you see a SCOBY on kombucha or you see a SCOBY on maybe even in your vinegar, that's not the mother. The mother in vinegar, the mother in SCOBY are these, you see these little, let me see if I can get it close enough without the light. You see some little ground. Let me pull this more forward. You see these little pieces? If you make fresh apple cider vinegar, or if you have some of the Bragg vinegar that's organic that you have from before, you can put a tablespoon of that in your new vinegar that you're growing. And hola, hermana. Thank you and welcome back. Yankee, hermana, and I were talking about you today because you should be here. You should be here. You can buy USB floppy drives cheap. I have one and I have the CD drive that's separate as well because I have the attachment. I can put those in the computer. So this is a fresh quart of apple cider vinegar. I actually made this in a half-gallon jar and it's better than the Bragg vinegar. It's much more tasty. And then like this will clear up. And I use my, you see how much sediment is in the bottom of this one? And I'm giving this one to my garden helper so that she wants to make her own when she clean, yeah, the unpasteurized mother, exactly, T Hop. So for those who don't, T Hop 4610 is the same as T Hop 42. It's the same nephew. So I'm giving her this. She makes her own kombucha now. She'll come in and she helps me and she'll be making our coffee or the oatmeal in the morning. And she'll say, "What is this?" She'll see me a little concoction with, I always have a rubber band on it and a date on it and a top. But English, English is her first language. You like the Braggs with the honey? Oh, okay. I haven't tried that. Lorraine said we miss each other, but you'll be back in October. I'll be here. I'll be here. And yep, I will be here and I hope to see you. I hope to see you, sis. Oh, that's what Unbiased was doing. I finally figured out how to undo it, you guys. Duh. Woo. The epiphany. So that is what I would eat if the store shut down. But guess what? I prefer to eat my food than what the store has. I buy basmati rice, jasmine rice in the 25-pound bags, and then I dry roast them in the refrigerator in my canning jars. I put them in like 225 for an hour. And if there are any eggs or anything, any impurities in there, it will kill anything, and you don't get those little mealy bugs or other things that you find in your food after a while. I'm looking at the top. My hashtags look like sewing is spelled wrong. I'll fix that. So, how many of you are growing anything that you can eat? I also go to the farmer's market. There's a farmer's market 3 blocks away from me. I'm not able to walk that far unassisted. I just got a rollator walker. If I wanted to, I could walk over there, but I'm not crossing them busy streets. And I have other ways to get there. The only thing, it's on Sunday, And a lot of you know I don't do social media on Sunday. Sunday's my day to rest my eyes, to rest everything. But I'm excited about Monday because Monday my gardening angel's taking me to Lowe's, and we're getting two of the big bags of Kellogg's container container soil. I'm retraining her. Like she's so used to gardening in other people's garden. I take my leaves from the and I put them in my garden beds. Well, my raised container. So when they break down, it makes the best soil. And she'll take it out, or some of the straw that I use for mulching. I go buy the cut up, chopped up straw with no weeds in it. It's expensive. And I say, hello, Miss DS Garden. Thank you for coming and welcome. I don't remember seeing you in here before, but I'm happy to meet you, happy to greet you. Melanie Taylor, you're back. Thank you. I appreciate you. You might want to listen to the part I was talking about before about one of my aunts and her telling me about how my grandmother, which was her mother, who was born in the 1800s, how they used to quilt and do stuff. So now I'm just turning stuff on and off. You go ahead, you auntie girl. So let me get my money out, my bosoms. My helper's funny. I first thing I do when I come in the door, I don't wear shoes in my apartment. This is a handicapped senior apartment. So I think an 80% of the place has to be carpeted. Why? Because elders fall. A lot of elders, and especially other denominations, others, when they fall, break a hip or something, they're gone. They're gone. So they try to keep us elders from falling. I have more trip and falls. I have more trip and falls than anything. So let's go to what I have planned for you tonight because I'm excited to show you. I already showed you one of the things, and it was all of the little pieces. Oh, was it? Maria Graham, email me or text me and tell me while I'm making the other two or I can just add one to it and make it three mug rugs. I'll add yours to it. And I already have three pieces of Auntie Joanne's denim that I didn't borrow them. I didn't accidentally fall in my cart. My sister gave it to me. And I cut her some 6.5-inch blocks too. Why? Because I like the big ones. I also make mug rugs 4 inches by 6 inches, or I start with a 5-inch block to make them. You can make them any size you want, but you know why I like these? Because they will shrink a little bit when they're washed. I use cotton batting because if you accidentally need to grab the top off of a pot on the stove that's hot, you can use one of these. You can make a stack of them and leave them around, and they can use multiple uses if they're bigger. A 5-inch one, like if you grab an iron skillet, I don't know if you've ever taken an iron skillet out of the oven and you had one of those Dollar Tree, one of those small pot holders that are small, one pot holder, and they're usually 9 inches. That won't cover the whole handle, and you have to use two hands to lift them when they're heavy. So these are multiple. Maria Graham saying, hi, Miss Diaz. So I'm showing off now that I can put things up and take them down where it says, hi, I got this. Can't show her anything. So tomorrow I'm going to my mom's house. I'll be there 6 hours in my granddaughter's chair, getting my hair retwisted, getting it retwisted. And I have a new book for Rai Rai. It's about a tiger who's the king of the jungle. And if I see him tomorrow, I will read it. If not, I will read the book for him. Now, dun, 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 dun. Oh, wait, I have one more thing to show you because a lot of you have nieces and nephews and grandchildren. I want to show you a summer project that my great grandchildren made, and I will show you when. I'm making sure that I'm seeing the bottom of the chat. Okay. So this was made in 2012. And what is it? It's a sign. I love putting it on my garden. If I ever do, you know how Crafty Leo and some of the people go live, or let me pull this forward so I don't have to hold my arms up so high. And they colored it. Now I used a stencil and I put the words on here, Nana Camp, and we had it in North Carolina. And I put one of those pop-up tents up, and they would go out there. There was a tarp underneath it. They had chairs and tables, and that was their office every day. So Simone and Cami Cam, and they colored this. This is actually a piece of duck cloth. So those of you who do your own, sell arts and crafts, or do the different recreational things, you can make your own sign. You can also use this for making the leaders. If you have a cutie frame, you can make it. This is what I use in the beginning. Now I bought a drop cloth that was 4 feet wide by whatever 60 inches, which is 5 feet, and I made my leaders for that. And as you can see, this edge was the raw edge of the duck cloth, and the other sides I cut with pinking shears and just turned it under and sewed it. Oh, but I just want to say the paint that we used was fabric paint, and if I hold it really, really close, maybe you could see the texture in the paint. But this is 12 years old. No, 13 years old. This is 2025. This little butterfly. So this is one of the things, like 755 does painting on canvases. You can make your own canvas. You can stretch this over wood and make canvases to paint on, or to draw on, or to do anything you like. So I'm just sharing some things with you. And since they're on the chair and some of you are new, this is one of my journals. I make my own journal covers, and all of my journal covers have a pen or a pencil holder. This will hold a pen and pencil. This was some beautiful Asian fabric that I found that I loved. And I always put a really nice gel pen in it. When I was at my sister Joanne Stevens' house for a month, she had a gel pen. I said, "Oh, is that one of mine?" She said, "Nope, those are one of mine." And immediately when I wrote with it, Maria Grant says, "Hello, Mother, Mom Pankey." When I wrote with it, I knew it was her pen. She likes to write with fine print, and I use thick, chunky writing so that I can see it. And this is a gel pen, but it's a G210, so it's a bold writing pen. And I want to show you something. I'll show you a page that doesn't have anything important on it. Oh, this was some notes that I made about, it says quilt labels. You see how thick that is? You can read this from here. You like the 1.0 gel pens? Oh, see, everybody likes something different. But you see how thick this is? I have vision problems, so it helps me to see when I write with really thick. I do have thin ones. I do have thin ones for other, and this is why I make a quilt label, because every quilt has a story. Oh, and I was telling you about my aunt. So you know what she told me? She said, Penny, oh, that's what my family calls. She says, guess what the best part of my quilt is? Mind you, this quilt is made of 2.5-inch blocks that I made into 9 patches and half square triangles that I squared every single one of them up lined up the horizontal line and the corners, then spun them and did them so they all fit perfectly, sent it out to a long armor because that was during the time I was legally blind, and got it back, and then I put her label on it. She said, Penny, the best part of it was your label. And I'm like, what? All that money and all that, and the best part was, but I took that as a compliment that it meant that it was important to her that her niece made her a quilt and put a label on it. So before I show you what we're gonna go work on tonight, this is a journal cover that I'm actually going to give to my only grandson, and this is made of mud cloth, authentic mud cloth, and real calf leather, and it already has the gel pen in it. And there's room to put whatever color, size gel pen you want in it. And oh, and the other thing I put on all of my journal covers, I put a page holder. This one, I don't know if you can see, is pure leather. Pure leather. So yes, no, this is not a $15 journal cover that I make and sell, but I show you, if you've ever grown up in school and made book covers out of paper bags, I make them the exact same way, except I sew the edges down, and then I go buy a composition book. But you know what I like? And maybe you guys don't. I like the composition books with the wide lines for writing. Why? Because you can see them better. And sometimes I even write on every other line. Why? Because it makes it easier to see. When I used to belong to some writing clubs as a writer, or this is just an aside, when I was in school, when I was in law school, no, I'm not a lawyer, but I did go to law school for 2 years. Nancy, our treasured home, welcome. The way you take exams, it's not like A, B, C, D, E, and you blacken the block. It's all compositions, and you get something called a blue book. Well, you learn how to write in ways. Each professor has like 2 minutes per question to read, like to skim through 10 pages. So you try to make it so that, thank you, Donzel Cooper, says pretty. You try to make it so that the professor can scan the lines. It's not all jumbled up. You know how you get an email or a text and they've got 20 lines of writing? Very few of you. Hey, LGG love, how you doing? Thank you and welcome. I was watching you doing something, walking around doing something. And to make it easier to read, we would write on every other space. The things that were important, we would underline because we wanted them to get that point. So I carried that over. And look how big I write, you guys. Look how big this is. But it's my journal. And I have different journals for different things. This one is about technical stuff or like making the label. I buy 8.5 by what? 8.5 by 11, 5 by 8, 5 by 8 cards. 2 of these will fit in a side. But this was something I was just hand drawing and showing people, like with your cutie frame, how to make different designs. You're like thread painting. You're painting with thread. You can do it with your domestic machine, but you have to. It's easier if you put gloves on, even the nubby cotton ones, and move it around with your hands. That's uncomfortable for me. I have bad shoulders. They say I need shoulder replacements. I'm not doing it. This, different things, different logos I worked on different times. And I just keep them in here. I have other journals where I might wake up in the middle of the night and thinking of an idea for something. I don't want to turn on a bright light. I just scribble it. Okay, now. Dun, 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 dun. Well, my tissue sticking up. How rude is that? I told you, my helper says, Mrs. Helen, do you have on your brassieres? She says it in a different language. So yes, I put them on before I go outside. Let the girl tie the girls up. So I borrowed some scraps from my sister's scrap pile when I was in Arizona, and I pieced them together. This is the back. I'm just doing this so that you see all the stitching. Some of it is loose, which is why I will be using a black batting, underneath it. I don't know what kind of backing I will be using next. Mike says free the twins. I don't know. They might be a little lopsided by now, Mike. I don't know. No shoulder replacement in the name of Jesus. Amen. Amen. But my shoulders are so bad. They say I have cysts in the rotator cuff sockets, but I'm still not doing it. Now, a lot of times you'll see me lift something up and use the other arm to support it. So that's why I wear a black t-shirt or black top a lot, you guys, so that I can use my chest for a design wall. So I want you to see all these seams in here. Now, the blocks over here, where are they? Oh, this block and this block, my sister, Auntie Joanne, made for me. So, hold on, let me go up and see if I could find. Oh, Mike Free the Twins. And he's saying, hi, treasure. Hold on, you guys. I'm just trying to negotiate Mike Free the Twins. Hi. Dun, 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 dun. So now I'm using my chest for a design wall. So my lap is wide enough. I want you to see, because Thursday I put this, we were deciding what color the first border would be on here. And I made it that kind of a tiger, a leopard stripe, and a tan. The reason I'm putting it back, because it looked overwhelming at first. And my sister Joanne said, Sissy, do you have a light yellow? So I just wanted you to see, when I put it with all these dark colors, I wanted the dark colors to stick out. These are a gazillion tiny pieces of fabric called crumbs. But then after the live, I didn't want to put the black border on, which is 3.5 inches, until I pressed it. Now, had I thought about it, because most of the fabric, the fabric, 95% of the fabric in here is African fabric. African fabrics are a heavier quality of cotton than you get in the United States cotton. It's 100% cotton, yes, but it's a different weight. It's like you go to Walmart and buy some sheets that are, say, for say 100 thread count. I'm just being ridiculous. It's really loosely woven, and you go to, say, Saks Fifth Avenue. I'm just thinking up a name. You go to Saks Fifth Avenue and you get 800 thread count. Now, those Kona cotton is very heavy. It mixes well. It mixes well with these African fabric. It mixes well with the batiks. But this fabric was thinner than the others. What I could have done was to put a stabilizer on it, but I didn't. What I did was press it real good and put some starch on it. There's something called Best Press, Best Press. Oil of oregano, Miss D. Yes, I'm growing some oregano outside. A lot of it. I have a lot of herbs, and thank you. I will. Um, my sister Joanne is very picky. She likes things to match, and I know she thought this was going to look crazy, but when I get back from it, you can't really see the stripes, and because there's so much going on in this quilt. So much. This is what's called an art quilt. And most of the pieces in here I got out of Auntie Joanne's scrap bin. And I just started putting them together. Twosies. This way you could see all these tiny little seams. Look at this block. Look at all those little seams. Oh well, and I made 1/4 inch seams over there where the men are chasing hunting. You can see Auntie Joanne's little 1/4 inch seams that she printed open. Oh, Mrs. D, I'm glad to see that you're into herbs. I love herbs. I'm in the planter garden herb challenge, but I'm growing herbs for me because I use them. I use a lot of herbs and I ferment a lot of things. I make my own kombucha. I've been canning. I've been making wine. I've been making kombucha. You make it. I mean, if they make it from scratch, I probably do it. And probably was doing it before all of you guys were born. My children are in the my youngest is 55 years old. So, yeah, I've been doing it a really long time. And like I said, there's no right way, no wrong way of quilting. Yes, I am a master quilter. It's like being a master gardener or a master journeyman in whatever trade people do, right? But because I know how to do it doesn't make me any better than anybody else. I do it the way the quilting police say to do it, and I do it whatever way I feel like doing. I know that was ghetto, shaking my neck and everything. Sorry, kids. My kids was Nana. No, you didn't do that. Shaking your neck. Yep, I gave them some neck. So, but and there are different kinds of quilts. There are quilts that are for comfort, like a rag quilt, like my denim quilts. Although my mother's denim quilt is very fancy. Why is that paper sticking up again? So my mother's quilt is very fancy. It's a denim quilt, and it took me several months to make it. It's a king size denim quilt. It was 112 inches wide, like 96 inches long, and I cut up jeans for everybody. My Renaissance grandma sent me jeans, Big Rooster. I picked up, by the way, a big pile of jeans that my granddaughter collected. One of her friends dropped them off for me. And one of the things we're going to be doing tonight, when I go to mom's house tomorrow, I'm going to take this lady a little crossbody bag. And I have some made that were in my stash in the bedroom, and I just need to put a label on it. So we're going to do that. And I had some leftover blocks from doing this quilt right here, and I'm going to show you how we're going to finish with it. Miss Shirley, oh gee, girlfriend, did you see how I popped up here like a youngin'? Sometimes my knees and hips don't let me do that though. Trust and believe. Trust and believe. So now I'm going to put the camera back a little way before I start because I have some things over here I want to show you. And yes, no, I mean, no, the onions didn't get planted out yet, the red onions. And just want to see what you guys are doing. So now I'll put the bell over here so I probably can't find it again. Over there hiding with all the scissors. And I'll put my phone so that when I start sewing, you can see. So I have, your niece said don't do it. a bionic auntie. I got titanium. I have so much titanium in my body that when I was in the airport last time, when I was leaving, they actually think they're slick because I had a mask on and I don't do facial recognition on anything on my computers, whatever. But they asked me at some point to take my mask off because I had Hershey. I have a titanium hip, two titanium knees, titanium in my face and head. And when I got, hey, David Corey, thanks for coming and welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me ring a bell for you and each and every one of you because I appreciate you. Do what you love and love what you do. David Corey wants a quilt, but guess what? He's not collecting jeans. He's not cutting them up. He no, worky, no eaty. When I was in North Carolina, I had a garden that was a good portion of an acre, maybe at least a quarter of an acre. And it was fenced, and it actually had two chicken coops and other stuff in this fenced acreage. And one day a lady was walking down the street and she said, Miss Ellen, no, Miss Penny, they call me Penny is my nickname. Miss Penny, can I come? Can I get something out your garden? I said, yeah, but we got rules. You don't work, you don't eat. She thought it was funny. It wasn't funny. So what I'm going to do over here, you guys, this is a pocket from a man's jeans. Big man. You see how big this pocket? These were nice jeans. And I put some time, we voted some time ago. And I used some webbing on the front of this one. Sometimes I put leather on here. By the way, those of you who have featherweights, the largest size needle that will fit in a featherweight machine that you should put in it, technically, according to the shop that services featherweights, is a size 18 needle. So what we're going to do with this, we're going to sew a little label on here, and I'm going to take it and give it to my granddaughter to give to the lady in the morning. Now, what I want to show you is a piece with the rest of the scraps. Is that the biggest I can make that? Yeah, but I'm going to bring you closer in a minute. So this, I'm looking to see which way because this purple piece has a face in the mask. So do you see this? These are some of Auntie Joanne Stevens scraps. And if you look on the back, you'll see how many pieces. And by the way, when you sew as quilters, most quilters use titanium gray or off-white. I never use white thread in anything because there's nothing white in nature. So, like, for example, look at this little block. This little block here, look here. Look at all those little pieces in there. Do you see how many pieces are sewn together in there? And I'm just seeing now there's a piece of the baobab tree in there. But this way you can, or maybe you couldn't see the baobab tree, but you see this little mask right here? So what we're going to do is put two more small borders on here. But first, Joanne Stevens, you asked me if I had some yellow that would have matched with that last piece I did. And when I was going through some fabrics, I wanted to show you guys this. So I know none of you can guess what this is. This is some hand-dyed fabric. And what it is 100% cotton muslin, a good muslin, unbleached muslin, and I tea dyed it. I boiled some tea on the stove with black tea bags, black pekoe tea, and I boiled it and boiled it and boiled it. By the way, that's what you make kombucha out of, you guys interested in making kombucha. You only use black tea, cane sugar, and put the SCOBY in it. I have videos about that too. It's time for me to make some more, but I want you to see this fabric that is dyed with tea. Now, why do I have this? Because this will mix and match with all of my African fabrics that need a neutral. I just forgot I had it. I forgot I already had this. done, and it could be pressed a little better, but I'm not going to use it. I'm still not going to use it in this in these borders, and I'm going to put two borders on here, and I'm going to show you a different way of adding a border. So, oh, and look at this interesting detail in the corner. You see how the stripes are going sideways? On the top right and the lower left, I have the stripes going different directions just to make it different. Just to make it different. So I will show you the borders. I'm going to sew two borders on at the same time. Two borders on at the same time. And I'll show you what they will be. So this border that some of you picked out for the other piece, because it has a crown on it, and because this guy sort of has a crown on it, I'm going to put one border like this above here, and I'm going to put, okay, there's one. Then I'm going to put this one. I'm not going to do it in this order. I'm actually going to do the sides first. This way, right? I'm going to do these sides. Then when I put this one across, it's going to go across the whole thing, and I'm going to sew them on at the same time. That's a new way of putting a border. So I have two of the black ones cut. I have two of the crowns cut. So I usually, oh, and all the others I have folded. They're ironed. These don't get wrinkled up, baby. These go into some kind of a plastic bag and stuck somewhere until I remember where I put them, or you guys tell me where you saw me put them, and we go from there. So let's turn on Taylor. Her name is Taylor. Oops, there goes my phone. Oh, and the other quilt, I will be embellishing with cowrie shells and with maybe some beads, and with, I'm gonna put this on my thick little thigh. That should hold it down. That should hold her. And now I'm going to move this and bring you guys down closer. Why? Because Mike likes to come down close and personal. I actually have my iPad over there. I was going to try to set up another camera. What I was going to do is put my phone on the tripod and put my iPad here. And then I was like, I'm trying to do all this stuff, you guys. And no pity party. As most of you know, I'm blind in one eye, so my depth perception is off. What seems like I'm doing things easily is not easy. I have to keep looking at things to make sure they're lined up and straight. Why? Because when you're blind in one eye, your depth perception is off. One side is always closer than the other one. Oh, you know how I cracked my teeth? I walked into a wall at Auntie Joanne's house and I cracked my two front teeth. So there's a string on there. Strings drive me crazy. But we're just going to put a quick little label on here. This will be delivered. I sewed an orange on the back on here. And somebody will get a cute little gift to thank them for sending me a pile of jeans. Some of them were shorts, like cargo pants, so that should be interesting. And a lot of them were black. So I usually always have this. I found these labels at Auntie Joanne's house when I thought I had none. And I made some mug rugs to leave at her house. I made two special ones, like she made 2 blocks, and then I made 4 for the house ones. I didn't have time. I almost missed my flight. I thought I was leaving on a different day. So I just took a marker and wrote my name on the back. But do whatever you have to, even if it's just your quilt. Take a marker, what do you call it? A laundry marker, one that will last through several washings. At least sign your name and the date on your quilts or whatever you're making. Okay, let's move over and I'll get my handy dandy glue stick. I say, oh, don't tell me I misplaced that label already. And okay, so the glue stick wouldn't cooperate, but it's not a live stream unless I drop something on the floor. David, you always call me, I call these zigzag scissors. You said, oh, I thought they were the other word for it. I'm like, no, they call them zigzag scissors now, the new people. By the way, David he knows how to sew. His mom taught him, and I think he told me maybe at school when he was growing up. Mike says pinking shears. Yes, that's the other word. But when you look at them on Amazon, they call them zigzag shears. I'm like, I flow with the music. Okay. This glue's trying to take my label, but I got him. You don't have to use a glue stick. That's just me wearing mine. Everybody has to wear theirs the way they want to. Yes, Mrs. D. Garden saying pinking shears. Yes, I actually had a pair of scalloped shears growing up. They're probably still at my mom's house somewhere. And there are several other sewing machines. I have a vintage sewing machine. I used to collect them underneath the sewing table. It's a Singer 338 and it has a really wide throat. I got it so that I bought a cutie quilting frame not too long ago, but I bought it so that I could use a wider throat. This is just a Singer heavy duty machine that I bought for the sole purpose of sewing denim and abusing it. And I can put more than a size 18 needle in here. I often use a size 20 needle. And that might be the biggest one, maybe a 22. I do have industrial needles because I do a lot of leather trim on my totes and my bags. So I do make a lot of those. As Auntie Joanne will tell you, she and Uncle Roscoe have many of them. Let me pull this out because before you start sewing, or when you put your presser foot down, I don't know if you guys know, when you put your presser foot down, it tightens the thread up here. So I didn't want it to be tight yet. So I loosened it and I'm going to lengthen my stitch length to 3.0 millimeters. This will be quick. Took a minute to get. Okay. So this is just a little fun gift, and it's a cross-shoulder cell phone bag. Everybody doesn't. My cell phone is very big. My cell phone is very heavy. My cell phone is aggravatingly big and heavy, and it's not one of the ones that's like a tablet. No, this is just a big phone. I needed one with a lot of memory, and I did. And it's only an iPhone 14. but it's heavy carrying it. So when I go to the garden and whatnot, you will never see me walking with a phone in my hand. I don't want to trip and fall with my two titanium knees and my hip, or trip over something and my depth perception is off. So I'm not complaining, God. I'm just talking to my friends and my family. Why? Because good friends become family, and family is everything. Or you can put little tools in here. You can put your business cards in here. PIA made me a hanging thing where I have my QR code on it that I wear when I'm out, and I can have my business card. So now I backstitch a couple of stitches. Voila! This is ready to deliver. Now, was this what I planned to do tonight with you guys? No, but it's due tomorrow, and I'm leaving home at 8 a.m. Why? Because it's an hour to get to mom's house. It's an hour to get to mom's house. So now she has a cute little crossbody bag. And if you're out in the garden or doing stuff, I like things that go across like this. This little pesky thing, let me take it out. That's me looking like a fool. Looking like a fool. So, yes, for those of you who have just come in, don't forget to drop your link so that people can find your channel by, let's see, where are the banners? Exclamation GQUAT to drop your link. Okay, so there we go. So now I'm going to show you a different way of adding borders. You have two new knees, sis. Yeah, we're special. Oh, I was telling you, when the guy was pushing me in my wheelchair, you didn't hear this from me, right? So if you want to go through all the TSA stuff really fast, get a wheelchair if you need one. You don't abuse the system if you don't. But you get them to push you through, you go to the front of the line, you go through stuff. When I got near, I have enough titanium to make a pew pew out of me before I even got to where that doorway was. They push it through. They try to get you to stand up. I'm like, I'm not standing up. And if you're over 75 years old, you don't have to take your shoes off. So it was like, can you take your shoes off? I'm like, no, I can't stand up. I'll fall down. No, no. So here's the piece that we're going to be working on, neatly filed on the floor. But the two that we're going to be sewing are on my nice wide thigh. So what we're going to do is take border 1 and sew it to border 2. Why? Because we are going to be adding the borders 2 at a time, and it'll give a slightly different look. So we're putting the 2 right sides together. The 2 right sides together, or some of y'all say the pretty sides together. And what you can do to keep your machine, if you're not sure that it's going to grab the first stitch or the last stitch, you can have a little piece of a rag. Or if you change threads or anything, you really should test your machine before you go. So I already know, and I know where the 1/4-inch line is here. So, and I'm not going to pin this because they're 2 straight pieces of iron fabric. So hold your question 1 second, you guys. So I don't sew my finger. Sewed it the first time this year. wasn't funny. It bled like I don't know what, and it actually took a long time to heal too. Oh, one thing I was going to tell you. Thursday we talked about styluses. This is my personal style of stylus. Why do I like it? Because it has a little thick part on this end, almost like a chopstick. But when I'm feeding fabric through, it'll go through the tiniest piece. It can go all the way under and all the way through. I can also stick this between this tiny little piece, like right up to right beside where the needle is, right there. And the other thing that a stylist does, many of you will find that when you're putting borders on, one border is longer than the other. That happens. Number one, the feed dog feeds it, it pulls to one direction. The other is, I see a lot of people, they hold their fabric back here and they're pulling it through, pulling it through. It's a habit. It's not, nobody's going to die because you do it. But when you're trying to get things to thread evenly or to sew evenly, when you get to the very end, you tend to hold this tighter. When you use a stylus, the only place it's going to touch is that one point, and it helps you tend not to pull the fabric. So that's why I like them. Yes, they make you take a full body x-ray. They see every bump or bulge. Oh, they don't make me stand up and go through it anymore. They pat me down. They test my fingers for any chemical residue, drugs, or whatever. So one lady that was patting me down, so I have to feel you. I'm like, do your thing, girlfriend. I said, how much you charge for this much? How much I owe you for this? I'm like, gee, I pay for this. I was just like plucking with her, right? So then I said, well, it's a good thing I don't have on a depend. I don't wear a depends or a patch. She said, I have to pat that down too. I'm like, go on, girl. And I know you love your job. I know you love your job. I know she was happy to make me go through. Then I had to take Mr. Hershey out of his carry-on plate. So then we get to the airplane. I told the people on the thing, I said, oh no, can you help me please? You can take me on board the aircraft and put my little thingy up there. And yeah, can you put Mr. Hershey over there by the wall for me? Thank you. Then I give them their little tip. Yeah, that's just me. Hold on. Let me trying to pull you guys up where I can see what you're saying. Okay. Pull every bump, everything. I know. Makes you want to hold your stomach in. Oh, so where they're sewing this one, it appears that one of these pieces of fabric is probably 42, 44 inches. The other, obviously, it's not. You'll find out why in a minute. So, but it's funny, it's folded right there. So this piece is that much longer than the other one. But guess what? It's already ironed. We are not throwing that away. We will be using it in another something, a scrap quilt. I'm not doing any more scrap quilts. These were crumbs like I said, I found in Auntie Joanne's fabric. And I was just doing something to show you guys that you can make something beautiful out of crumbs. LGG love. Says I'm cracking you up. I don't even know what I said that was cracking you up because I'm just being bad. As usual, right, Sissy? I was always in trouble because of my. But they said that I was bright as a child, and bright kids get bored. It's like they weren't doing enough to keep my intellect stimulated. Oh, I have all my report cards from kindergarten through college, you guys. My mother gave them to me recently, and some of them are funny. in first grade, the teacher said that Ellen does well. She reads well, mind you. It was either kindergarten or first grade, and they said, Joanne said, "That's right." I said, "So the right, so funny, yeah." And they said, "Except sometimes she hits the other kids." I'm like, "Oh, you're not supposed to hit." When I did something I wasn't supposed to, I got popped. So they did something, they got popped. Or not. Or not. Oh, speaking of documents being wrong, I have to tell you a funny story about someone in here in the chat. She won't come up to tell you herself, and that's my sister Joanne. So, Stamford, Connecticut, mind you. Connecticut is a very Caucasian state. It was back then. And now I think Black people are about 15% of the population, Hispanics 15%, and the other mix. You don't know what the ethnicity or nationality is. So Joanne was born at Stanford Hospital at night. Mother, either colored or Negro. Father, colored or Negro. And you don't look at your birth certificate until you go to college. Joanne needed hers because she got a job with the airline, and to fly internationally and stuff, you had to get your passport and show your ID. Well, Joanne Stevens, her name wasn't Stevens, and it was Joanne Pankey, was white. She was white. So she said, "Well, obviously I am not." But she couldn't get it changed because it is a legal document. You can't go from being white with two Black parents to, although I guess theoretically you could if it was IVF and the mother was fertilized with a white embryo, you could. You could. So sometimes when I want to irritate her and she's doing something, I'm saying, "Well, you're right, sissy, my white sister." And she just dies laughing. But I think at some point, in order so that she could fly or do her job, somebody changed it to whatever the word of the day was: colored, Negro, Black, African American. Sabi Kimasabi. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with this lovely piece, and there will be enough to do something more than this one little quilt. So yes, of course I know how to sew fast. Of course I do. But for me, it's not applicable to everything I do. Why? Because some things I do are very, very detailed, and I have to stop on one point. One point. And like I was saying, there are quilts that you make for show quilts. There are quilts for comfort, just to get warm. And you don't, yeah, you do the best you can. But there's no quilt. I don't care how hard you try, how many master quilters you are. There's no such thing as a perfect quilt. I have never made one. Just like there's no perfect human on earth, there's no such thing as a perfect quilt. End of story. So when people say my quilt's not perfect, of course not. It's not supposed to be. You just do the best you can. There's no such thing as a perfect meal. You just make it and cook it the best you can and make it taste the best you can. Of course, somebody in the chat told me, so, "Oh, Auntie, I saw you cooking in the kitchen and you wiped the plate." Yeah, that's the way I was raised. My mother, my parents, well, first of all, they made us eat on china and they made us wash the dishes. When we were real young, we never had a dishwasher other than the six of us. See, and I still hate washing dishes to this day. Don't I, Sissy? I'm allergic to it. I'm allergic to the soap. I am allergic. I hate it. Joanne says, "True story. You demanded she wear a girdle panty to go out in the world. No giggling or wiggling on your mom's watch." Yep. And her great granddaughter just had a child, and one of the family members bought her a waist trainer so that she could get her shape back. I had my shape back after my kids, like in the next couple of months. I was wearing shorts. David Corey, you still here, baby boy? Oh, aren't you the best? Aren't all of you the best? I encourage each of you to do what you love and love what you do. So, what we just did was this: we sewed these two pieces together, and I'm gonna put this down, move this over so that you can see. I'm just gonna fingernail press it. I'm gonna press it with the big iron, just like all my pieces. But for now, I'm just gonna use my fingernail. And yeah, oh, the ruler's in the way. I'm going to use my fingernail just so that I can show you something quickly. Quickly. So I'm just using my fingernail in my hand and finger pressing it. Actually, yeah, I am going to do it this way, because the lighter fabric is on this side. So there's an one of the stories or the laws or whatever, one of the rules or ways of quilting that you learn instinctively after a while. You press towards the dark fabric. Why am I doing that? Usually the heavier fabric will push the smaller fabric. See, this one is thicker than this one. Usually the heavier fabric will push the light one over. I'm forcing it the other way. Why? Because I don't want the black fabric to show up on a shadow on the lighter fabric. See, I don't want the dark fabric to show up on the shadow as the light one. So, oh, the light came on back there. You know why? The hydroponics came on. I still got a couple peppers in there, Mike, to put in. So what I'm going to do is, what we are going to do is sew both of these on here at the same time. So let's get to it. This is, and I'll show you what happens when we do the third border. So I call it the strings, the thread to the back. Just getting this started so we don't have any wrinkled up, balled up thread. And we are going to sew. Actually, I'm going to trim this little edge up. It's only a tiny piece. I don't know if you guys see this one little tiny piece right there, but I'm going to trim it. Why? Because that's just me and my OCD-ishness. Okay, so now they're even. And this is the salvage edge. I'm not going to sew on the salvage, nor am I going to pin this one because it's a very small piece. And I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam. And I'm going to carefully make sure that the seam that I'm sewing both edges together. Now this is going to be so interesting. And you probably will never see a border this way. I'm back stitching just because there might be some wear on tear on this before I finish. You always stop with the thread pull-up lever at the top because it loosens the tension on the bobbin when you put it through, and your thread will not pop. Okay, so now we are going to move this back so that we don't accidentally cut it with the rotary cutter. Okay. So we're going to see this magic, how this comes together. Let me make sure that it's at a right angle. You carpenters in here, or those of you who took carpentry shop, you know that if you get a right angle, you know that things are lined up straight. So, and so I am squaring it up. So open this rotary cutting blade and cut across both of them. And the beginning end with that little starting rag piece, I will do the same thing on the other end. And square this up. Cut my little rabbit thing off. And we're going to do the same thing. Just start it to get the threads going, to make sure it's sewing the way it's supposed to. Now let me show you what just happened. Look at this. Look at this. You see this? Both sides are sewn together. So this one wants to go in this way. So I will probably press it this way. This one seems to want to go this way towards the smaller seam. Why? Because these are heavier. So you see how these are lined up? Actually, I said I was going to do it the other way, but I didn't, because this crown, I'm calling this a crown, but whatever, I'm going to put the other side the same way. The same way. So we're going to turn it. We're going to turn it. And we are going to sew this side. But it's the next one. This is such a tiny piece. You'll see how this comes together, because it's fascinating. And it's a way to finish your corners on a quilt without making a special, like there's something called sashing and cornerstones. This is a way to sew it without making cornerstones. Okay, so here again I'm sewing a 1/4 inch seam, 1/4 inch seam, and I'm facing the crowns going outward. And I'm going to backstage just a little bit because I'm going to be pulling on this one. Except cut this little leader off. There's something they call leaders and enders. You can actually put fabric there and do it. Put the thread in the back. Square this off. Uh-oh. I'll tell you why I said uh-oh in a momentito. No bueno, but I think we're going to fix it. Because, as I said, there's no such thing as a perfect quilt. And life happens. So, okay. So now this side, we're going to open up. And which way do we say? Oh, we're going to press these inward. We're going to finger press these inward. Now, what I want to show you let me show you this. So this is what makes it so interesting. So these two sides look even, but now when we put the top on it, okay. Oh, actually, I must be blind, crippled, and crazy. This is the top, and the crowns are going in. Hope I didn't put that down too fast. So the crowns are going in. The crowns are going in. Hold on 1 second, you guys. 1 second, and I want to show you something. Okay. Hold on. I have to turn that buzzer off. Okay. So, inquiring minds want to know, what was that? When you're almost 77 years old, you, my sister said, close my rotary cutter. I did leave it open when I jumped up just now. Sorry. You guys look out for me. Why? Because good friends become family, and family is everything. What that alarm was, and we're almost finished, you guys. Just give me a couple seconds. Consider this a tutorial because I want to show you something. This piece I knew was not going to be big enough to go across, because look how wide this got with these two borders. When I was saying, uh-oh, is I see that somehow this bottom piece is cut or warped or whatever. So what we're going to do to make up for that, we're going to leave it there. Maybe something was on top of it and I cut and I wasn't paying attention. But what I'm going to do when I do the bottom, when I sew this bottom edge on, I'll just make the seam a little thicker to cover this, because this, we normally make a 1/4 inch seam, right? This is this end about a 1/4 inch, so I'll just make it 1/3 of an inch. I'll make it a little bit bigger. This is my quilt. I'll do whatever I want to do, but I want to show you what the magic happens when you put the next side on using this method of putting a binding. So check this out. This piece is going to go totally across here. It's going to go totally across, so it gives it the effect of having a T on it. A T on it. So we started at 6. My alarm goes off at 8. I need to go take some meds, and I will finish this piece and post it tonight. So when you check back tonight, when you it's my rotary cutter is closed. When you check back tonight, I will post the finished piece. Plus, I want to iron it. And peace, love, and blessings. Mother, ego amote. I love you guys. And in American Sign Language, this is an I. This is an L. This is a U. How to say I love you in American Sign Language is this. I appreciate each and every one of you. See you Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for coming. Love you guys. Do what you love. Love what you do.